Hi, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be a Scalefinishes how-to video. In this video, we're going to be talking about our SUPERprimer line. So, SUPERprimer is absolutely the first step in making a good quality paint job with Scalefinishes paints. You can't spray my paint directly onto the plastic. It will etch into it. It'll make it craze. It won't work. You have to put good quality primer down, and we have 5 different colors. I'll get into them for this opening bit. We're going to do our gray SUPERprimer. And for those of you guys who've ever asked me a question about what to use, this is it. Gray SUPERprimer. 99% of the time, that's what I'm going to tell you to use. Realistically, unless you're trying to get the oxide red out of our red primer, trying to get that look, or unless you're trying to get an underlayment for the neons, the House of Colors neons, in which case I'm going to tell you white on that. Other than that, I'm probably going to tell you gray. You can do some tricky stuff with our black, which I'll get into in a little bit, but for the most part, I can't stress this enough. Gray primer. This is, if you question, hey, what do I need, and it's not red or the white for the neons, it's this, just gray primer. So let's get started, and I'll show you how to use this. So I'm demonstrating on some spoons here. I got these from Walmart. I got 100 of them for a couple of bucks. I don't know, it was a while ago. These last a long time. We also have some that we send out with each individual bottle of paint that you buy. I don't have any on hand. I'll show those in a minute, but I'll show those in a minute. So really, we have the spoons, and you can practice on these, and these are exactly how I do all of my models. Now I'm using 1500 grit, one of our little sanding sponges that we sell, and all you're doing is knocking that shine off of that. Doesn't have to be everywhere. It doesn't have to be super. You're not trying to remold it. You're just trying to knock the shine off. You can see the nose is kind of shiny, and then it fades off. That's good enough. So then all you want to do is just come in, spray a good coat on there. It's kind of a heavy, kind of a wet coat, and that's it. Just make sure you get it covered. There's no trick to that. You just saw that. And we'll do another one. Just take that shine off. You see how fast I did that? And then I'll just wipe it off with the cloth here. And that looks good. Let's go back over to a more realistic way of painting it. Would have been to come over and do it like this. Okay. See, same thing. A lot of light little coats turned out exactly the same. So after you do that, it's going to dry, and you're going to have to leave it sit for, I don't know, 10, maybe 15 minutes, and then it's going to dry. It's going to be completely flat. You see that? These are like 10, I don't know, I sprayed these like 10 minutes ago, and yeah, you can see that's good. That's done. So that's our gray primer. That's how you apply it. So that's going to go under everything. If you want to, you can sand that. You don't have to, but you can. I'm going to do this one with the 3000. It's one of our same sanding sponges, the 1500. Now you really do not need to do this. They are done once that dries. Then again, just sand it down. Any specks of dust or whatever that was in there, that would have sucked them right off. And that is looking good. As a matter of fact, there's a little piece right there. You can barely see the edge of it, so just redo that. And yeah, And that's perfect. I don't think you can see that on the camera, but yeah, that a little speck's gone. So a piece of advice, if you are trying to knock a nub of anything out of it, when you paint and you get the little nub of dirt, the paint's going to build up on it. So when you sand it down, you got to make everything nice and flat. So I can't really mimic it here, but I can kind of explain it. So when you come over the top of it, you're going to cut across, and it's just going to catch the top. And you're going to catch the top, and you're going to catch the stuff around it. And it's going to leave a little ring, and that little ring, in this case, is actually going to be flat. And so once you go over it, it will shine up a little bit. So just look for the flat spots. That's kind of opposite of how you do clear coat, which I'll get into in another video. But yeah, so that's perfect. That just sucked that little nub of crap right out of there. Just so that's our gray. Let me clean the airbrush, and I'll come back, and then I'll show you the other colors that we carry in spoons, so you can see what they look like. All right, so we have all the rest of the spoons taken care of. I did them all exactly the same. So 1500 grit, just enough to knock the shine off, sprayed them over. So, and then sprayed everything out with my Pache. That's got the 0.5 millimeter tip, and I do everything at 25 pounds PSI. Same thing as with the paint, the clear and everything. That's how I do it. So next up on the colors, we have the red, which you can see is a really cool oxide red. That's good for chassis on 50 early Tri-5 Chevys, the 55, 56, 57s. I know they use that. The first gen Mustangs use that. Heavy equipment, industrial stuff, military stuff, they all use that. It's a real heavy duty primer. So that's good for a lot of different applications. Next up we have the white. Like I said, I recommend this if you are going to do it with the neon over the top. I don't recommend it for white though, because the gray is fine for white. The white we sell anyway it's pigmented enough that it'll cover that with no problem. None of that gray will show through. And I find for me, I have a hard time seeing it with this, and I have a tendency of spraying it lighter, and I do not like how that turns out. And of course you mix the red and the white together and you end up with our pink primer. That's good for under reds. Guys are liking it under reds. I've heard guys say they like to use it under yellow. I've never tried that, so I don't know, but we carry that. And then last but not least, we have our black primer. This stuff's cool. I probably use this a slightly less than I use my gray primer. As you can see, that flat black, old school hot rod right there. They used to do that, black primer. So all you guys with your 49 Mercs and your custom Chevy trucks, that would be perfect on that. So I like that because it turns out like that. And I've sprayed that on chassis and stuff, just black, you're done. Now one of the things I do want to say is all of these will take a clear coat as is if you want to. So if you wanted to shine that up, you can spray that over. It'll look like gloss black paint. If you wanted to dull coat it out, if you just wanted to spray something else over it, I like it. I've been doing it on another project, but I've been doing it with our honey mat, and it looks just like black leather. So anyway, good for interiors and stuff. Now one of the things I do want to show you, this is definitely a trick here, is anything that says it needs a black base coat underneath it, you can spray that. You can spray it over that. You can spray it over the primer. So this is our molten copper. It's one of our solid pearls. I'll show you how this works on there. Yep, let me turn on the fan. Let me wipe this up. There we go, okay. Punch that up with a big drop coat. Okay. So as I've stated before, that's in our 500 clear. But look how cool that turned out. And that's just over the primer. There's nothing else on there. I mean, you saw me do that. Then that'll dry nice and shiny. because I put a lot on there, so that should dry pretty nice and shiny. And even if it didn't, or if you went real light or you had to mask it off or whatever, you could come back and clear coat over this stuff, no problem. So that's cool. So the black is super, super useful for a whole bunch of different things. Like I said, different clear coats is going to change up the color. You can do the pearls over it. Yeah, just amazing stuff. So that's our super primer lineup. And as I was saying earlier, every bottle you get, you're going to get one of our little droppers, and you're going to get one of the plastic spoons. And these are the same as the big ones I just demonstrated on. They're just tiny. So yeah, just take those, send those down, shoot over them with the primer. You'll have one ready. You ever have a question about how a color is going to look? You ever have a question about a compatibility between the primer and the color? Have at it. That's the way to go. You'll get those with your paint bottles too. Now I've never had a problem with compatibility with the primers. So yeah, I've never had a problem. Just shoot them. Put Tamiya colors over that. Testers, the old tester stuff, all their spray cans, airbrushed out of them, all sorts of stuff. I've heard a lot of guys doing a lot of things. Never had a problem with them. So anyway, if you want to order some of this, get on my website. Use code YouTube10 and you will get 10% off on all the primers and all the paint colors we carry. We even color the sanding sponges, so you can use those. I mean, everything you see me use here, we carry that except for the airbrush. So yeah, go ahead, give us an order and you'll love the product. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.